Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching. My name is Kelly Latimer, and I'm going to take you through a presentation today that I've put together for my original contribution in my last class of my master's program on ESL and bilingual education through the American College of Education. And so here we go. I'm going to put it in present mode and we'll get started. All right, so what is action research? Through my classes at the American College of Education, we had to do an action research project. And so action research is something that has gained popularity in the education world recently. And action research aids individual educators or teachers in focusing on a specific problem that they see in their classroom or in their school, and it's a way to improve their instructional practice. So a teacher will think of a problem that they have in their classroom and then research that problem about how other educators and scientific educational researchers have solved that problem elsewhere and what they've learned about it. And then you put together a plan and you implement your own action research. So I'm going to be talking about what I did last spring. And it really helps teachers to organize their thinking about a problem in the classroom. So the purpose of my action research is to investigate the possible reasons and solutions as to why the English language learners in my kindergarten classroom struggle to generate ideas, to transcribe those ideas onto paper, and use those self-regulation skills in writing. So looking at their writing and knowing that it doesn't look quite right or knowing what to fix, comparing it to some of that success criteria that we've been working on at Lou Henry Elementary too. So the outcome will be my professional practices and instruction will begin to change to meet the needs of my ELL students in hopes that their writing skills, particularly their narrative writing skills, will improve compared to their English-speaking peers. So the problem statement: the English language learner students in my kindergarten classroom struggle to produce narrative writing and are outperformed by their English-speaking peers. And this is based off of both qualitative and quantitative data that we've shared in PLCs from the last 4 years working with ELLs in kindergarten. So I know that this is something that they struggle with and that they've struggled with year after year after year. So through research, I found that ELL students have problems in writing in 3 areas that have been identified by Allen, Pock, and Lemke from 2018. And they've identified text generation, so thinking of what to say, putting it on the paper, transcription, and self-regulation. And so I've incorporated those 3 skills into my action research. So my research questions are: how does the current writing curriculum, Lucy Calkins, address the linguistic needs of ELL students in kindergarten? So the curriculum that we've been using for the last 4 years has been the Lucy Calkins writing curriculum. And I'm just questioning whether that really addresses and helps to meet all these different factors that ELL students come into contact with or encounter during narrative writing. Number 2, what are my ELL students' feelings and perceptions toward writing? I chose this one because I think if they can't connect to what we're talking about, specifically with narrative writing, that they'll feel bored or confused or frustrated or just disconnected. And so I'm trying to bridge that gap and help them feel more connected and more engaged and more confident in their writing skills, especially from the very start in kindergarten. Number 3, what sociocultural barriers could be present that are causing my ELL students to struggle with narrative writing? So I know that there are sociocultural barriers present. I'm just not exactly sure what they are and where they are and what gaps we're having in this narrative writing unit in kindergarten and first grade too. Kind of goes on into first grade. I'm not sure about upper grades because I haven't worked with them as much, but I'm sure this could be helpful for ELL students in higher grades as well. All right, so I did a literature review where I read lots of research articles about ELLs and writing, and specifically narrative writing. It was kind of hard to find things specifically on narrative writing, but these were the 3 articles that I found that I thought went best with what I was trying to do. So the first one was by Shanna Haynes, 2015. She created a creative writing project for her ELLs that included learning about photography, and students took home cameras and took their own photography pictures to convey their life or identity. So they did that over a weekend, I think, or a couple days. And then they would bring the camera back and print out the pictures at school, and then they'd use those pictures as inspiration for their narrative writing piece. The next research article I looked at was by Lynn. Oh, I forgot to put the date in there. She was also 2015, I believe. Yep, 2015. Lynn used questionnaires and in-depth interviews to explore writing needs and difficulties of 20 adult ELL learners. And while they were adults, I still think that a lot of what adults go through as they're first learning the English language and writing skills in English can be applied to kindergartners who are also first learning writing skills. So the study showed that ELL struggle with linguistic and cognitive aspects of writing, psychological or emotional aspects, and sociocultural aspects. So these are things that I need to be exploring with my kindergartners and their feelings and perceptions toward writing in terms of linguistics and how cognitively demanding it is, emotional aspects, and sociocultural aspects. Another study conducted by Jewel, Griffith, and Go from 1986 found that word spelling and idea generation accounted for about 30% of the variance in the quality of writing in first and second graders. So that tells me that phonics and word spelling and that phonemic awareness foundation is super important, and also the ability to generate ideas. So Allen, Pock, and Lemke from 2018 created a trait-based writing rubric that assessed ELLs on word spelling and idea generation, amongst other traits. So I will be using one of those trait-based writing rubrics in my action research as well. All right, research design. I will be implementing the photography words activity by Shanna Haynes to our narrative writing unit and collecting data throughout that experience. So I really loved the project and article I read by Shanna Haynes where she had students take home cameras and take pictures and bring them back to write about them. So that's what I'm going to implement, and I'm going to collect data throughout. So last spring I started doing this, and I got about 2 weeks in before COVID hit. So here's what I have so far, and I'm going to continue working on this and reporting about it this school year. So the first thing I did to collect data was student surveys. Once a week, I created a Google form to collect data on student feelings and perceptions toward writing. That was before, just using Lucy Calkins, and during, and then after the implementation of the photography writing project. I collected anecdotal and observational data, which looks specifically at the generation of ideas, transcribing them, and self-regulating skills. And I used a trait-based writing rubric, which was used with writing before implementing the activity, with just Lucy Calkins, during and after, to see if things like sentence type, spelling, mechanics, and grammatical structure have improved through the photography writing unit. All right, so when I did student surveys, the students took the survey weekly on iPads during writing workshop. There was only 4 questions, so it was super quick and easy on a Likert scale. The first question had some happy faces and some different types of faces to talk about how they were feeling about writing. And the rest of the other 3 questions were on a scale of 1 to 4, being very easy, easy, hard, very hard. And the 4 questions were, how do you feel about writing? How easy is it for you to come up with an idea to write about? How easy is it for you to put that idea into a sentence in your head or out loud? And then how easy is it for you to write that sentence onto the paper? So students will be instructed on how to use the Google Forms on the iPads and how to fill them out to the best of their ability, taking it seriously, not just picking whatever they think, and really thinking about how they feel about writing. Stop. What just happened? Okay. So data analysis. So I collected data. So this is about the student survey data. So for question 1, how do you feel about writing? Kindergartners answered before implementing the new way of narrative writing. 33.3% felt happy. Oh, and I should say there were 18 kindergarten students. 9 of them were ELL. 9 were not. And all of them were given the survey. So before implementing the activity, 33.3% felt happy, 38.9% felt okay, 22.2% felt frustrated, and 5.6% felt bored. After implementing the new way of teaching narrative writing with photographs and talking about them and sharing them and then putting them on the paper, 42.1% felt happy, which was an increase. 26.3% felt okay, which was a decrease. 21.1% felt frustrated, which was a slight decrease, and 10.5% felt bored, which was a big increase. So I thought that was interesting. Question 2, how easy is it for you to come up with an idea for writing? Before implementing, 44.4% found it easy, 22.2% found it very easy, 16.7% found it hard, and 16.7% found it very hard. So the majority are thinking it's easy to very easy. And then after implementing for 1 week, students found it was easier to generate ideas, and it increased from 44.4% to 52.6%, which was good to see. Question 3, how easy is it for you to put that idea into a sentence? 50% found it hard, 22% found it very hard, 16.7% found it easy, and 11.1% found it very easy. So a majority of my students are finding it hard to put that idea into a sentence. And this was, I was thinking orally or in their head, thinking, how am I putting this into a sentence? And after implementing the photography writing method, more students were finding it easier to put that idea in their head. So 52.6% found it easy, and 26.3% found it hard. And the last question, how easy is it for you to write that sentence on the paper? Before implementing, 55.6% found it very hard, 22.2% found it easy, 11.1% just find it hard, and 11.1% found it easy. So the majority thinking it's very hard or hard. And after implementing the activity, 36.8% found it easy to put the sentence on the paper. So I was really happy to see that had improved. They were finding it easy. That was a big increase from 11.1% to 36.8%. So I was really happy about that. All right, anecdotal and observational data collection. When I collected this, I looked specifically at idea generation, how they're able to brainstorm an idea in their head about what to write about, transcribing it, putting that into sentences that make sense, and putting it on the paper, and then self-regulation skills, looking at it and thinking, does this make sense? Is this the right way to do this? So I did this daily during writing workshop, a table at a time. I would call back to my small table in a small group format, and I'd observe them and take notes on a spreadsheet. And this part of the data collection was really to help me answer the research question I had, which is what sociocultural barriers may be present that are causing my ELLs to struggle with narrative writing. So I was looking how easy it was for my monolingual students to generate ideas and put them on paper compared to my ELLs, my bilingual students, and what sociocultural barriers may be present in that. So when I analyzed my anecdotal and observational data, I looked for patterns and themes across my anecdotal data. And what I found were there were some students who did not end up bringing a picture from home. This was because I don't have enough cameras to be able to have students check them out like Shana Hines did in 2015, to be able to take them home and take pictures and then bring them back. I tried my hardest to reach out to all the parents and say, please, please, please bring pictures. You can text them to me. You can email them to me. I can print them out here at school. They can bring them up on an iPad. But there were still parents who did not end up doing that for their students, or students who did not end up being able to bring a picture from home. And so the students who did not have a picture from home exhibited behaviors of anxiety and reluctance to participate because they kind of felt left out. So that is something that I will need to think about in the future and how to combat that. Another pattern that I saw was that students seem to be more engaged and orally participate in writing more when they connect to what another student has said. So for example, a student in my small group setting shared her photo from home of a cat, and another student who was at the same table who did not have a picture still was able to make a connection to that student about owning a pet cat at home. And that helped that student to be able to generate ideas better. So I'm finding that maybe it's not so much about the picture, but about being able to connect to something that gives them that idea, that gives them some language to be able to put on the paper. All right, the last data collection I did was using the trait-based writing rubric, where I collected one narrative writing sample per week, and I evaluated it using the trait-based writing rubric from Allen, Pock, and Lemke, 2018, which was also adapted from Coker and Ritchie's 2010 sentence writing rubric, which was also used with kindergartners, which I think is important to note that this was an appropriate assessment to use with kindergarten writing. And the rubric assessed writing based on sentence type, spelling, mechanics, and grammatical structure of the sentence, and it scored them on a scale of 0 to 3, except for mechanics, which was 0 to 2, and students could earn a total of 11 points. And looking at that data, so data set 1 is before implementing the photography project, and data set 2 is after. So for data set 1, no students got a 3 on sentence type for how complex it was, like a compound sentence. 37% or 7 students got a 2, 42% there was 8 students and got a 1, and 4 students got a 0. And if we look at how sentence type increased over a week of implementing the photography project, we have it went from 37% to 42%, 42% to 37%, and 21% stayed the same. So one more student was able to make a more complex sentence than the previous week. For spelling, we stayed about the same. 58% are at a 2, 21% are at a 4, and then we got a couple more that moved from a 0 to a 1 after the second week. Mechanics, it stayed about the same again. Hang on one second. Okay, sorry. I need to check on something really quick. Okay, let me present this really quick. Okay, we were on mechanics. 6 students got a 2, 4 students got a 1, and 9 students got a 0 before implementing. And after, we got 1 more student got a 2. 3 more students moved from a 0 to a 1. And then we had 6 students with a 0. In grammatical structure, before implementing, we had 5 students get a 3, 10 students get a 2, 2 students get a 1, and 2 students get a 0. After implementing, we had 1 more student get a 3, so 6 students got a 3. 1 more student got a 2. 11 students got a 2. 1 student moved from a 0 to a 1, so 2 students got a 1 and 1 student got a 0. So we did see quite a bit of improvement. A couple students were moving, having more complex sentences, able to do better with their spelling, able to put in spaces in between their sentences, capital letters, period at the end, things like that. So that was good to see that some of that had improved. All right, so after doing all of this, some conclusions I've come to and some future plans that I would like to make. I only did it for 2 weeks, like I have said, so this is not sufficient enough evidence or data to say that the photography activity was successful with narrative writing. More work would need to be done, more data would need to be collected. I'd like to do that more consistently, as it wasn't super consistent last spring. Yeah, so I would love to continue implementing Haynes' 2015 Photography Words project that works to increase vocabulary or communication and overall narrative writing skills based off a photograph from home. I would love to share this with any colleagues to see if they'd be interested in working on this project with me. And then I'd love to write a grant to actually get some cameras to allow students to check out and take them home and bring them back. And then we could print out the pictures at school. And just think this would be so cool to show the students different ways of living, different homes, different cultures at home. I just think it'd be really cool. So in conclusion, I've learned through my research that there are many factors that affect ELL's narrative writing skills, which are linguistic and cognitive, psychological, emotional, and sociocultural factors. And data shows that student feelings and perceptions toward writing improved from Lucy Calkins to the photography writing project. A student's feeling that the elements of the writing process, such as generating ideas and putting them on paper in general, were easier after implementing the photography writing project. And overall, I've learned that it's just really important that we pay attention to all these factors that an ELL will encounter during writing. And it's crucial to student success that we are really learning our students and their backgrounds and including them, and also paying attention to their linguistic level and their emotional factors that they could go through, with seeing that they're different from others. All of those things play into their success in narrative writing. All right, if you would like to learn more about this or talk to me more about it, here are the articles that I read and referenced in my project. And if you would like to work with me on this, please feel free to email back. And any feedback you can give me would be greatly, greatly appreciated. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Thank you.